You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the BQN Podcast Collective. I'm your host for today, Chrissy, and joining me is my co-host, Thad. Thad, how are you doing today?
Who are you? Who am I?
Chrissy,
Where
you're
am I?
Thad. You don't fly the ship,
Okay,
but
good.
you do have other important duties.
If I flew the ship, I'd be crashing it.
Yeah, and apparently you can fly the ship without remembering how to read, but that's a whole other thing that we'll talk about later.
I have trouble with the concept that they forget how to read because, based on, how amnesia works in most people, that's not. But anyway.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But anyway, okay. Also joining us today is Stephen Fothery from Text Trek on YouTube. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, I'm Stephen Fothery, and I host Text Trek. And I feel like I should keep repeating that so I don't forget who I am.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Good idea,
Yeah. We'll all reinforce each other's identities with that. Right, and before we jump into our topic for the day, we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons who make this show possible, particularly our associate producer, Carl Wonders. Carl, in case you forget your name, that's one of the things under your name. Listeners, you can hear your name listed as one of our associate producers for a monthly subscription of just $10 at patreon.com/BQN. And with a monthly Patreon subscription of just $5 or more, you can join our Meetings of the Hive Mind on the second Saturday of each month. Watch your Patreon messages for details. So, Prodigy still canceled.
Well, yes, it is.
This is becoming a running joke now, and I'll stop.
Cancel culture has gone too far. We can't have Star Trek shows being canceled.
Oh my! How did I not make that connection the last couple of
how
weeks?
have we
That was
not
beautiful.
made that joke yet?
Thank you. Yes, we had an unofficial, accidental Blu-ray announcement.
So a bit of an accident.
Yeah.
The Digital Bits, which is a website that reports on Blu-ray releases. That's where we first heard about the 4K
Strange New Worlds.
Strange New Worlds and
Yeah.
the 4K TNG box set, etc., etc. And they don't just report on Star Trek; they report on all of those things. And those reports come out usually before the things have been announced because they get their stuff from retailer listings and things like that. So that's what happened. Digital Bits reported that Prodigy Season 1 Part 2 is coming at the end of September because it was listed on Target's website. And then Aaron Waltke from Prodigy retweeted them talking about this, but Paramount reached out to him and said, "Hey, we haven't officially announced this yet. Can you please take that down?" So
Then talk to Target.
yeah, well, I'm sure they also talked to Target.
I'm sure they did.
But that's just the weird ridiculousness of finalizing deals and licenses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's all legal mumbo jumbo thing. It's the same reason why they sent cease and desist for people who were sharing shots of the trailer that they pulled.
I've forgotten about that.
But yeah, regardless, it is coming. And
Yeah.
it's, Paramount has, shot themselves in the foot over and over again because they really should have had this announcement ready to go when they canceled Prodigy. But,
And they could have they didn't need to have a date. They didn't need to say end of September. If there was still things to be finalized, they could say by the end of the year.
I don't know
Before
if they had it
Christmas,
planned out.
you know?
I don't know if they had the Blu-ray release planned out when they made that announcement to cancel Prodigy. That might have been a more recent thing.
no, they would have.
I can't imagine. Yeah.
Okay, so for one, the first half of the season already got a
Right,
Blu-ray
but
release.
from
So-
what I heard, it was still unclear if they were going to put out more. From the people who worked on Prodigy didn't know, or maybe someone at Paramount knew, but people working on the show didn't know if there was going to be any more Blu-ray releases. Because a lot of
the
shows
people who
don't
work
get
on
them.
the show aren't the ones who do the Blu-ray
Right.
releases. So
Yeah.
This would not have already hit a listing
Okay.
on Target if this hadn't already been in the works for months.
Well, they didn't say anything, did they? Like, was there there was nothing
Right.
official from Paramount Plus, from
Yeah.
like their marketing team on these shows going down, and it was.
No, there wasn't. It was
Right.
all a Hollywood Reporter article is where the whole thing started.
And that's
yeah.
because like the decision to take it down wasn't made by the people who normally are selecting what programming is on and when things are scheduled, but it like came from like Paramount Global like CFO level like decision making, and
Yeah.
yeah, and like they don't really care what the consumer is doing or thinking. They're more concerned with stock prices and keeping the Wall Street investor crowd happy. So yeah, that's why we get like a lot of like the left hand and right hand not talking to each other, and it's not very fun.
So, I mean, I'm sure I have touched on ranting on this topic before, and we are not an economics podcast, so I will try to not rant too much about this, but nothing
That doesn't
good.
stop the people who pretend to be economists, like
That's
the guy
true.
on CNBC.
Nothing good
Right.
has come from the mentality in business over the last 40 or so years that a business's job is to increase value for stockholders and not making a profit doesn't matter. What matters is increasing value for stockholders. So if something is profitable but that stock price didn't go up, it's a failure. And that is some incredible bullshit.
Well,
Yep.
almost like
Yep, and we can-
capitalism maybe doesn't work and is going to destroy the world, but
You don't say.
Allow me to take this opportunity to remind everyone that trickle-down economics was actually a negative thing that Bush Sr. used to say that what Reagan was talking about in one of the debates was not going to work. But now it's like a thing. It's a thing that people put up on pedestals. Anyway. And Stephen, you were worried that people were going to associate Texas with politics that you don't have, and here we are talking about how trickle-down is BS, so here we go.
well, yeah, unfortunately.
No. Well, I'm gonna say this because listeners will probably find it funny. I've known Stephen for a few years. We've been following each other on Twitter for 5 years or something like that, and we first met in person in Vegas. Talked for a little bit in the bar, mostly about Star Trek, and then after that, he sent me a friend request on Facebook, and I agree, but I was a little trepidatious because he is Tex Trek. He is from Texas, and the stereotype, which I admit
I fall under a lot of the
stereotype.
stereotypes. I like to walk around with boots on and big belt buckles and talk about how like
Right.
chili shouldn't have beans in it.
And you're a white guy from Texas, so I'm like, oh boy, what am I gonna see on this Facebook feed? Am I gonna get like
No, I'm just gonna quote Karl Marx.
I love Jesus and Trump and all that stuff. And no, it turns out Stephen is farther to the left than I am. So
Nice. That's the thing. I feel like there's a lot of people that get lumped in.
oh yeah,
You know?
for sure. And that is something
So.
I actually always like to point out to people. Whenever those like memes about we should divide the U.S., just let the red states become their own country, and I like to point out that there are millions of people in red states or blue states that voted the other way.
Yeah, the whole nation is pretty purple. It's like you go to Mississippi and you're still gonna find like a third of the people who vote for Democrats. You go to New York City, a third of the people there vote for Republicans. It's like we're a very purple country.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, speaking as somebody who voted for John Kerry in Wyoming in 2004. But anyway, they need a better, what's the word for it? They need better damage control.
Yes.
If they're going to do things like they need somebody in their marketing or whoever handles that, they need somebody to do that better.
And speaking of things Paramount not necessarily handling their business very well, I'm gonna segue into some stuff. I just got back from the Shore Leave convention in Hunt Valley, Maryland this weekend, And one of the panels that I was excited to go to was the What Happened to the Star Trek Books panel.
Good title.
Yes. It was a panel hosted by Star Trek authors. Dayton Ward, David Mack, James Swallow, and Christopher Bennett were all on it. And they wanted to basically address the fact that, as we have lamented on the podcast, we are barely getting any Star Trek novels anymore. And they didn't tell us all that much more than we've already discussed, how the pandemic supply chain basically broke a lot of things with novel publishing. One thing I didn't know is, apparently, when producing paper for books, they use cornstarch or corn products to whiten the paper. And the vast majority of the corn that the book industry uses to whiten their paper, do you know where it comes from? Or rather, where it used to come from?
I'm gonna guess the Ukraine. Or just
that would be
just
correct.
Ukraine now. They dropped the D. I didn't get the memo when that happened. I don't know what point, but I know we used to say the Ukraine, and now it's just Ukraine.
Yeah, I don't know why that happened either, but
I'm wondering if it's part of the whole,
independence.
if it's a similar thing to a bunch of the other things where the Ukraine is perhaps how they call it in Russian. So it's the same way how we've changed the spelling of. And I'm not 100% on this, so if you are Ukrainian and want to tell me differently, go right ahead. But I believe the local pronunciation of the capital of Ukraine is Kyiv.
yeah.
And we've changed the anglicized spelling of that in most reports these days, because the one we were using before was actually the anglicized version of the Russian spelling rather than the Ukrainian spelling.
Yeah. And there's there's one of the groups in Turkey is trying to push for it not being called Turkey anymore, but Turkaya. I am butchering that.
Yes.
Forgive me.
Yeah, I know the one. Turkiye,
Yeah.
I believe.
There you go. So
And that gets
right.
complicated when the other country doesn't use the same alphabet that we do. Like, the one thing that I have never understood is why we don't use countries' local names for that. Like, a map of Europe, for instance. Most of those countries in Europe that we have names for, and they do use the same alphabet we do, they don't use those names for themselves. No one in Germany calls themselves German.
No.
France is the one that does use that name for themselves. But
Italians, Italia.
Italia, not Italy. They don't.
Yeah.
It's similar, but like Germany, it's Deutschland.
Sweden is Svenska.
Yep. Norway is Norvège. There's, for whatever reason, we're still using the words that the 17th century English decided to use, and
You know what's
changed.
really, really funny is if you look up the Chinese names for European countries, but translated into English, because they have names like country next to Russia and like stuff like that, or like place with good soup, and it's like weird descriptions like that.
Well, I mean, that this pattern does go back at least as far as Julius Caesar, when we have Transalpine Gaul and Cisalpine Gaul and all that.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
There's Cisalpine Gaul and there's Transalpine Gaul, and they're going to have to take those out of the textbooks in Florida. So.
And then there was also, it's not Belgium, but it's whatever the word they used for Belgium was in there as well.
Yeah.
I only know it because my dad, it's one of my dad's favorite quotes, is he transliterates it to modern English to do it, but he always likes to say there are 3 Gauls, Gaul on this side of the Alps, Gaul on that side of the Alps, and Belgium.
All Gaul is divided into 3 parts.
That's it, yes.
Yep. That's Caesar's Gallic Wars. Mm-hmm. The Belgier.
Okay, so basically Belgium.
Belgier. Yeah. But of course they're Flanders, so.
Yeah.
well, to tie this back into Star Trek,
I was going to say, welcome to Geography Trek and Politics Trek. That's already a thing.
But I think it's probably a safe...
No, Star Trek's not political.
It's a safe assumption that some of the planetary names in Star Trek are not necessarily like the name of that planet in the language of the native inhabitants, unless... You know,
absolutely.
Like Romulans always called themselves after, the Earth mythological demigods of Romulus and Remus, it's like Ramai, or
Romulus and
the
Remus.
Original mythology, but or even like Vulcan, Orion, Talos, they're all like names taken from Greco-Roman mythology.
Or even worse, like when you go
Rigel
to like
7?
Yeah, Ameniar 3, Rigel 7, like stuff like
Which
that.
I think was part of the original intent, making Star Trek. Roddenberry was probably like, oh, well, we name planets after, Roman mythological characters, so maybe we'll just continue this tradition. And he probably was like, oh my god, I'm going to run out of Greco-Roman mythological characters to, pull names from.
We're a long way from that.
Yeah, but where did the Klingons come from then?
Wasn't
the Soviet Union?
Gene?
Well, yes,
Gene Kuhn named them after.
Yeah,
but there's like a name, like I don't know. It was derived from like someone's actual name that was like Klingon or something like that, right? Or did I make that up?
Yeah, I think that one, like the Terry Mutalis planet that we had. In
Mutalis
Picard.
Prime, yes.
Yeah, it's named after somebody. How did we get to this anyway? So, languages, yeah.
Yeah. We're okay. I'll come
Ukraine.
back to the Star Trek books, which is where this started. Anyway, yes.
That's all right.
There've been a lot of delays in printing, partly because of the corn in Ukraine, partly because of the price of wood, partly because of the fact that the cost of shipping things from China went up like tenfold, etc., etc., etc. Plus, there was that whole period where no one was actually producing anything. In addition to that, we had Simon & Schuster, which is owned by Viacom, the Paramount Paramount parent company. So at the moment,
always for now. But
because it was owned by, but was not like directly, not technically the same organization as Paramount that owns Star Trek, they had a license with Simon & Schuster for them to make their books. But during the period where where Paramount was trying to sell Simon & Schuster to Random House, and then the FTC was suing them about it, and there was a lot of basically they dragged their feet on renewing the license because there was a lot of uncertainty there. So that added to this, and yeah, basically a bunch of stuff. We're only getting 2 books this year. Next year, though, it was interesting. They said there was like an 18-month period where no one wrote any Star Trek books.
When was the last time that happened?
No one published.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the publishing part. I'm talking about there was a period where no one was writing them. So now they have to catch up, but it takes about 12 to 18 months between when a book is envisioned and when a book is published.
I was making a joke about like people writing novels over pandemic and stuff.
Oh, gotcha. I get what you're saying.
No one was being paid to write Star Trek books.
Okay, I'm following you there.
I was.
No
vague.
one was
Anyway.
commissioned to write a Star Trek book for a period of like 18 months.
Yeah. You were saying, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm just thinking like, well, when was the last time that happened? Because there's been Star Trek.
It was the late 70s.
Yeah.
1979.
It's like when we started making Star Trek books, like we never stopped. Like that we just kept going forever.
Yeah. Simon & Schuster has been publishing Star Trek books every year since 1980. And yes, this year is the smallest number ever.
Pocketbooks was always part of Simon & Schuster, right?
Correct.
If I remember correctly, yeah. So before that it was Ballantine, and those were all kind of odd.
I think it was Bantam, or maybe it was Ballantine.
Is it Bantam?
Sure. Or Bantam and Ballantine, the same publisher. They might be.
It is Bantam.
And
I'm
some of
thinking
those were okay, and some of those were terrible. But yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, there are more books coming. Probably we're not going to get, but we're not going to go back to the heyday of getting one a month. That's not going to happen anymore. The industry can't sustain that anymore.
No.
People do not buy books like they did in the 90s.
No.
Because there are so many other forms of entertainment competing for them at all times that didn't exist then. But the mass market paperback market is basically non-existent anymore.
Yeah.
There's romance novels and westerns that you buy. Those are pretty much the only things that still get mass market.
Grandma and Grandpa's books, and that's about it.
Right.
Not to generalize,
but we are.
And the people who want to read what Bridgerton is based on. So
yeah, but we are still going to, which some of those are Grandmas and Grandpas, but
that's true.
We are going to get more trade paperback Star Trek novels in the same vein that we already have. They couldn't announce anything specific because haven't gotten the go ahead again for more bullshit legal reasons, like we've talked about other things. But They promised we will be getting more books in 2024 and 2025, and it will be more regular releases.
Cool.
That'll be good. But let me say, this is an opportunity to catch up. If you
Absolutely.
are somebody who likes to have, you're reading the Trek books. Did you ever go back and read all of the post-series novels? There's 100 of them. Mm-hmm. There you go. You are covered.
I have a suggestion for people who want something to read. While the novels might be slowing down, the comic books are ramping up. IDW is really
That's
they've
true.
increased their output tremendously. We have 2 ongoing series right now and a bunch of mini-series. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I am so far behind on comics. It's not even.
I'm into the fact that IDW is doing a shared world continuity.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how long they can keep it up since it takes place in a very specific time period that's less than a year long.
Yeah.
Because it takes place between Endgame and the start of Nemesis. That's the only way the story makes sense for any of these characters being where they are.
But I think it has a planned ending because they...
Yeah, I assume.
And I'm sure, at the end, Cisco will go back in the wormhole. Everything will, reset to the status quo. It's got to be. Mm-hmm. But, Data will go back to the Enterprise so that he can go die in Star Trek Nemesis. But yeah, the stories they're telling in the meantime are pretty fun and pretty exciting.
I also enjoyed the sort of the one-off miniseries that they did about the Corgi on DS9 too. That was fun.
The dogs of war. I haven't. I've bought all the issues, and I haven't read it yet. But I talked to the editor, Heather Antos, over there at IDW, who's overseeing the Star Trek line, and she was very proud of the recognition they're getting. Nominated for an Eisner Award at San Diego Comic-Con, which is like the Oscars of comics. So this never happened to Star Trek comics before ever.
Nice.
I am really hoping that we're going to get some recognition this year with the Emmys, because Next Gen was kind of given this nod of an Emmy nomination for Best Drama in its last year, and it was like, oh look, Star Trek can actually be popular and all of that. And as many Emmys as should have been handed out to all of these shows for various and sundry, I'm really hoping that we can at least get the nomination for Best Drama for Season 3 of Picard. I mean...
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I know they're pushing it, so...
Speaking of the comics, comic artist J.K. Woodward was also at Shore Leave this weekend.
Oh, awesome.
Cool.
Got to see some of his artwork for some upcoming comics, which looks really cool.
Yeah. No, James is great. I hung out with him on the Star Trek cruise, and then in Vegas, he's a real cool dude. Well, he's been on my show. We've had him on Text Trek.
But I had to say the coolest person that I talked to at Shore Leave was probably Kirsten Beyer, who is both a Star Trek writer, a Star Trek book writer, and a Star Trek show writer.
Co-wrote this episode.
Yes, co-wrote this episode. Was a co-creator for Picard and Strange New Worlds. Yeah, she's done a lot of stuff, and she's really cool. It's funny though. I was standing outside of a panel room waiting for the panel that was in there to end, and so that I could go in and see the next panel that was going to be there. And I was talking to some friends, and she walked up, and the person I was talking to knew her and was hi, and they're like, and she's like, "Oh, have you met Thad?" And I said, "No." And she's like, "Oh, hi, I'm Kirsten." We shook hands. We were having a pleasant conversation, and like 2 minutes in, I realized that this is Kirsten freaking Beyer that I'm talking to.
I love it.
So then, I awkwardly like, "Oh my god, I just realized who you are. I love your books." And like,
nice.
She is a very nice and friendly person, so it wasn't like she wasn't like weirded away by my sudden fanboying or anything.
I'm sure she's dealt with much worse than anything you would even dream of saying or doing.
And I'm sure most people are totally fine with people excitedly saying how much they like their work, too.
I hate it when people tell me that.
That's true.
I'm like, man, you have like really terrible taste. My content sucks compared to some of the stuff that's out there.
Yeah. Anyway, Shore Leave was a really fun convention. If you happen to be in the Mid-Atlantic area of the U.S., it happens every year in Hunt Valley in July, and it's a fan-run science fiction convention. They get some guests from actors and things. This year they had from Star Trek. They had Bob Picardo and Robbie McNeil, as well as Penny Johnson-Gerald. Then they also had from Battlestar Galactica, which I was excited about. They had Aaron Douglas and Grace Park, and from Stargate and Farscape, they had Ben Browder and Claudia Black, and it was very exciting to meet all of those people. But in addition to that, they get a ton of sci-fi, fantasy, and other genre authors, because that's part of what, like, the thing is. It's a convention for authors. On every Friday night, the entire the area where the actors are normally doing their signings and stuff it's turned into a Meet the Authors event, where it's just a bunch of authors there who are there to sign their work, sell their work, talk to you about it, and it's awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Anyway, let's talk about this episode of Star Trek, shall we?
Right, so the episode this week is Strange New Worlds Among the Lotus Eaters, which is just a story of forgetting.
It's an Odyssey reference, right?
Right, but it's also a connection back to what Pike was... I want to use the right word here. Mourning, lamenting, worrying over in the cage, the events that had him questioning his position, and Dr. Boyce making him drinks in his quarters.
There are things a man will tell his bartender that he won't tell his doctor.
This is true.
Well, they have the same two types of customers, so... The living and the dying.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
I wasn't following your train of thought. That's profound. So, Stephen, what are your thoughts on this week's episode of Strange New Worlds?
There is a lot that I liked in this episode, and the thing that me and my co-host Dave both agreed on our show Text Trek was that, unfortunately, it was like a lot of really good ingredients, but the meal that they came together and made, it wasn't as good as you would think. I wouldn't say I dislike it. There's a lot that I like, but there were also some things in it that kind of underwhelmed me, and I was always looking forward to the return to Rigel 7, something we knew about since Star Trek Day last year when they showed that clip. I was like, oh, we're gonna get a Ortega's-centric episode that, the actors and writers keep promising, and we're gonna get a return to Rigel 7. I'm going to see, like, that cool Kalar warrior and, like, that cool castle fortress. We're gonna have, like, some just, like, awesome-looking stuff there, and then I was just underwhelmed with it. I didn't get enough Ortegas. I didn't get what I wanted with Rigel 7. But there were some interesting things here that I was able to enjoy on a lesser level than what I was hoping for. So one of the less exciting episodes of Strange New Worlds, but still, it didn't offend me. It didn't bother me. I'm not like watching Picard season 3. I'm like, oh my god, don't call Section 31 a critical part of Starfleet security. I hate that. Don't put that into the canon. So wasn't a frustrating watch or anything, but yeah, just left a little bit to be desired. I typically love Strange New Worlds, and I didn't love this one.
Okay. Thad?
So I think I like this episode more than a lot of people. It's not gonna make my list of top Star Trek episodes or top Strange New Worlds episodes, but it's also not my least favorite Strange New Worlds episode. There's no child torture in this episode, so
Yeah.
it's got that going for it. I enjoyed this episode. I think it. Some people seemed disappointed with this based on reactions on Twitter and other social media places, that it seemed like some people seem to think that we need to be getting big dramatic stories like we got in Ad Astra per Aspera or Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow every week, and I really don't think Strange New Worlds is that kind of show.
No, it's not supposed to be.
And I enjoyed this episode for what it is. I thought it was great for having story callbacks to TOS as well as a cool thematic callback to TOS, which one of the tropes that I really enjoyed in TOS, because it happened over and over again, is that the Enterprise goes to this planet where someone from Starfleet was stuck on this planet for insert reason here, and they messed with the culture of the planet, and now Kirk has to fix it. That happened over and over again on TOS, and we got that basic story this week, and I love it.
I just thought of 3 examples off the top of my head.
Right, exactly.
At least he didn't turn them into Nazis. I mean,
That's true.
There you go.
One of the most bonehead moves in the entire Star Trek universe. Like, hey, what if I recreated Nazi society on this planet? That might work out well, right?
Yeah, what was the reason he gave was like the most efficient society ever.
The trains run on time, I guess.
Total bullshit. Yeah.
It was a half-baked idea.
Yeah.
But...
Remember, kids, don't be Nazis.
No, I mean, like the in the writers' room, it was a half-baked idea. Like the script was kind of half-baked, but.
Well, you got a lot of World War II veterans in that crowd, so
and you'd think they would be against that, having literally fought
I don't
Nazis.
Think that they were portraying it as a positive.
No, yeah, they were just like,
no, they weren't.
How do we create a Nazi planet? How do we send Kirk and Spock to a Nazi planet? That'd be a neat episode, right? Everyone likes Nazis being bad guys. It'll be cheap to shoot. We can go get a bunch of Nazi uniforms from, the war movie wardrobe department.
Yeah, no, that was it exactly. They were able to reuse sets on the lot, and sets and costumes that were already.
They should have made it like an alternate Earth where like Germany won World War II or something like that. They should have gone to like that, gone to that Miri type planet
or bread and circuses. But instead of Romans, it's Nazis.
But hey, bread and circuses. That's where you have a Federation guy goes rogue on a planet. So.
Yep. Yes, you do.
Yep.
And Omega Glory, and yeah, it happens a lot.
Oh, so many. Do you guys ever? I don't know if you have the channel around you, or if you watch it, MeTV. It's one of those ones that became like one of the digital channels that was.
And they do like classic TV shows,
like Pluto.
Yeah, and Svengoolie on Saturday nights, I have to say, but they run Trek on Saturday nights, and they have this ridiculous commercial that they have Kirk and Spock with a beam down into one of the sets that was Mayberry, because they also show that, and so that's one of their ads, and it's fun.
Well, they shot some of the stuff in City on the Edge of Forever on the Andy Griffith sets.
Yeah,
you see Floyd's...
Yeah, City on the Edge of Forever is the one they shot in Mayberry.
Yeah,
yep.
There's Floyd's barber shop, like on Edith Killer and Kirk's date.
Sure, why not? It works. Yeah, I was underwhelmed by this episode. I guess there are episodes of Strange New Worlds that I don't put into my rewatch because they do exactly what they're supposed to do, which is make me uncomfortable and sad, like the child torture episode. Yeah, and so I don't want to watch that. But wow, was that a hell of an episode? This one is kind of It's not bad. It's not great. I'm about to make a Chernobyl joke way past when I should have, so never mind.
Not great, not terrible.
Not great, not terrible. It's 3.6 Ronchron. Yeah. Thank you for knowing what I was talking about.
Yeah, but if we open the safe and get the good the good dosimeter, what will it say?
Good point. It'll be better. It'll be better than that. Anyway, so yeah. So we'll start at the beginning with Pike and Battelle and what I made a little joke in my head, Chekhov's Opilian Mariner's Medal.
Yes.
Can it be Pavel Chekhov's
yeah.
just to make it more Star Trek-y?
Okay.
Absolutely.
So why, in God's name, does Battelle not have a first name?
Okay, apparently it's Maria. It was on the Elcars or whatever.
Okay,
from
yes,
Ad
and
Astra
I
Espera.
did read that
Yeah.
as well. But
Yeah.
why have we not heard her?
Well, it took
First
us a long
name?
time before we heard Nyota, so...
Yeah, it was
but
50 years
Nyota
from
wasn't
now.
banging the captain.
I mean, she's not really that developed of a character. She's just kind of a... But I know
Okay.
people...
Yes, but you
People
think
seem to
you
really
use somebody's
like
name
her.
over
Like, I don't
breakfast.
know.
Yeah.
I might be the odd man out because I have met people who oh, I like that Captain Battelle. I want to see more of her, but I don't know. Like, to me, like, she's a very like side character. Like, I know about as much about her as I knew about Zuniga, the random bridge crew officer in Memento Mori. You know, so it's just like she's just there for like Captain Pike to have scenes with. I don't know. They haven't really given her much of her own personality. She's just kind of like nice girlfriend.
No, I'm with you on that. But what I'm saying is, we get all these scenes of Pike and her together, and he should be using
Like,
her
what,
name.
does he just call her Captain Battelle? Like, is that just how they address each other as Captain?
I don't think he's ever spoken her name to her.
Yeah,
No, I think he calls her Captain Battelle.
She has called him Chris.
I think he calls her
She
Captain
yeah.
Battelle in the first episode.
Well, maybe in a professional setting.
yeah, in a but like,
Yeah.
oh, in the first episode though, he may have just called her Captain Battelle, but that was when she was in her uniform
Yeah.
going off to her ship, so he did that as a
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yes,
Yeah,
she
that's-
calls him Chris, and he doesn't call her anything, and it's kind of weird at this point.
I'm trying not to get attached
Well-
anyways because I think she's going to get ate by the Gorn before the end of the season.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
I mean, we know that they're not going to be happily ever after. She's not around when he is in the wheelchair and has to go live with Vina on Talos 4.
Yes, we know that.
This is
yes,
true.
we know they can't be happily ever after. This
So
is
if
true,
they get
but-
together, something's
doesn't mean
gonna
she's
unget
dead.
them together. So I think part of them creating her might just be, oh, we're just gonna fridge her to motivate Pike to hate the Gorn to make them like the big bads of the show, which I'm not crazy about that.
Not a
Yeah,
fan of.
I don't
but
like the way
okay.
that they do Gorn.
I really hope that is not
That
what
hadn't occurred
happens.
to me. Yeah.
I'm pretty. I don't know. I'm bracing myself for it because I don't want that to happen, but I think that's probably going to be the case, and it makes me sad because I don't like Strange New Worlds Gorn. I love the show. That's like the one thing I didn't like was the Gorn, and I didn't like how Captain Pike was played by Paul Wesley in season 1. But I turned around on him, so they repaired my.
Kirk, you mean, yeah.
Or, who
yeah.
did I say? Oh,
said
yeah,
Pike.
Kirk.
You said
Okay,
Pike.
there are too many captains on the show, but I'm digging Paul Wesley's Kirk now. I don't know if I'm gonna dig the Gorn of season 2, but yeah, I think they're gonna.
If the Gorn of season 2 are like they were in, when we saw them in season 1, I'm not gonna be a huge fan.
Not
I don't
all,
think.
not all who
Well-
wonder, right? 109.
Yes.
Yeah. But I
I
mean,
said I
we
liked
have a
Memento
little-
Mori.
Yeah, no, that was great. But you know, it kind of didn't have
But
to be
we
the.
didn't actually
yeah,
see
no,
them.
You kind of did. You kind of could have pretended. Oh, maybe that's not even the Gorn. Maybe that's just like some other species that Lon confused for the Gorn or something. They kept them all mysterious, you know. So
Well, we've seen their hatchlings from a particular group,
Or
let's
how
say, who's out in
the
space.
co-writer of this episode, Davy Perez, or as I refer to him on my show, Davy Perez, the man responsible for putting the word youngling in the Star Trek universe. He called them younglings in All Those Who Wonder, not All Those Who Wonder. So yeah,
Yeah,
I can't get over that. That's just like, did you really have to call them younglings?
Well, but that way we get the grand tradition of our protagonist killing younglings.
That's not my tradition.
yes, that grand tradition of one other series.
We don't
Yes,
do
that's
that
great.
in my Star franchise, but
I'd forgotten about that. I've been calling them hatchlings this whole time.
I had also
they use both. They use both in 109, but yeah, the hatchlings I could live with. Younglings I hope I never hear again in Star Trek.
All right, we'll strike that from the record. Right. Well, my point in bringing that up, though, is that babies are very different from adults, and so you have this. We've been presented with this situation, and admittedly, it does not make sense that you have a brood that hatches, and then they all try to kill each other, and then the one that reigns triumphant from killing all of its siblings eventually turns into a sentient being that can fly a starship. That process is difficult for me, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and we'll see. So, especially with no adults around to guide them from bloodthirsty to starship.
Okay. We'll see.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, Batel gives him that medal, and yeah. I saw online, I missed it myself, but they're drinking Chateau Picard
with a screw-on
at the
cap.
end, I think.
So that wine was good at some point. Like it only became bad wine when Robert burnt to death, and then Jean-Luc had to take over the winemaking operation. And was like, shit, I never learned this stuff. Dad never showed me, always showed Robert. Now the wine is just terrible and god-awful, and everyone hates it.
Well, I mean, like, we know of 3 people that hate it. And what was one of them was Worf, right? So his taste in human wine, I'm not gonna trust.
One thing I saw on Twitter, and then I'm actually gonna give credit to something I saw on Twitter for once. At Keepers Dan on Twitter said, "I love this growing implication that Chateau Picard is like the Star Trek equivalent of that 99-cent wine that comes in a carton." Because it's the screw top.
Yeah.
And Jean-Luc is just delusional and thinks he's inherited some kind of world-class artisan vineyard.
I mean, I'm more of a Boone's Farm type drinker, so I don't have any room to complain.
Yeah. Yeah, like the first wine that I ever, like the thing that we had in the house was frickin' Concord Grape Manischewitz.
I actually love Concord Grape Manischewitz.
I love Manischewitz. Is fantastic. It doesn't taste like wine.
It's like
it's cheap.
No, it's alcoholic grape juice, and it's amazing. And it does have a screw off cap.
Yeah. So if Chateau Picard is like that, bring it. I don't. Wine does not.
Yeah,
taste,
I am not a wine
person.
aficionado, as is evidenced by the fact that I just got excited about Manischewitz.
Yeah, I don't know jack shit about wine. I know like there's a white wine and a red wine, and I can tell them apart, and that's like all I don't know like the difference between like a Merlot and a I don't know. That's like the only red wine I know is Merlot. So
Yeah.
I will say, of the Star Trek wines, which I have bought several, the Kanar was really good.
Did buy the Kanar. It was a Christmas gift, actually, but yeah, I did drink it, and it was better than the Chateau Picard wine, which makes sense.
It was better than the Chateau Picard wine. I agree. Yeah,
Good
no,
to know.
I actually enjoyed the Kanar. And now and after I finished it, I turned the bottle into a whiskey.
I have
bottle.
an empty Kanar bottle right
Nice.
here outside of. You just have to take my word for me. That's right there.
I believe you.
It's all right.
Mine has scotch in it, but I can't remember what kind of scotch anymore. But it tastes fine. Like, it was like, I'm like, oh, I need to put, I'm going to use it as a whiskey decanter. And then I'm like, oh, I don't need to label this. I'll remember what it is. And then like a month later, I'm like, oh, what was that? I really should have labeled this.
Can put a little on the bottom. Yeah. I like that though. I had not made the connection with the cheap wine having the screw top. So, yeah. So I get the impression. I think everybody gets the impression. You think he's shoving her away because he's like, oh, I can't let anybody get close to me because
Yes.
I've got an end date.
They don't
As
bring
it
that
were.
up though, so I kind of thought that might have been Pike's nature before getting like the Discovery future visions. It might have been like he was just always bad with commitments, and in the Ready Room, Anson Mount talked about relating to that aspect of the character in his personal life, which I mean, he didn't decide to get married and have a family until his 50s. So I that tracks. He might have spent most of his life avoiding commitment until recently.
Well, and that has been a consistent characteristic of our captains.
Yeah.
They're
famously
ship,
Kirk,
so.
famously Picard, Janeway, really everyone but Sisko. Mm-hmm. He's the only, okay. You can have a wife and a kid and no one else.
Well, Janeway was engaged at the beginning of Voyager.
Well, for 4 seasons, and then she found out that wasn't happening. So.
Yeah.
Right, and then apparently now we're supposed to retcon that Jean-Luc and Beverly had an on again, off again for the 20 years between.
The only way that works...
the 25 years between all good things.
Between every TNG movie, I guess they're just, like, together and then they break up. And that's how they had, like, their 5 relationships. You can fit 2 in between Insurrection and Nemesis, because there's, like, a 4-year gap there. But... I've been racking my brain trying to figure out. So when was Jack Crusher conceived? Like, how is that even possible? But
I think somebody figured it out. It was right before Nemesis.
So she's pregnant in Nemesis?
Yeah, but she probably doesn't know. She doesn't know yet.
But after their first night together, he bounced. Or no, yeah, because he had to go. They never saw each other again after that. So,
well, no, they did. They did see each other again. It was just too busy, and she didn't want to say it because they were going from crisis to crisis. And then, then she left. But
Picard's words to her are, "I didn't know that would be the last time I ever see you."
Right, but that was after.
So that had to be after Nemesis.
I don't know, because the way she described, like, some of the things that she describes, like, that she was saying that she can't, that she didn't tell him because insert thing here, thing here, thing here. Some of them could have been Nemesis based on the way they were described. Yeah. Right, because she was talking about the Romulan Praetor and stuff like that.
I think you can read that either he's saying that in reference to their vacation where she got pregnant, or hard stop.
When she did leave after that,
yeah.
Because there were a bunch of the way she said is she wanted to tell him, but then X happened and Y happened and Z happened, and then I took it to mean all those crises happened, and then she decided that it was never going to be good to have a kid with Picard, so she left. Yeah. But I assumed that they did. It wasn't that they didn't see each other after that. It's just they didn't see each other for much longer because Yeah.
Or just in that way.
Yeah.
I'm still unconvinced that he was conceived before. Like, I think the earliest it would have been like the day after Nemesis happens, which, and we know that was in like 2299. So somehow he's only like 20. He's like 21 years old, and
he's 22.
He's 22.
23. Yeah.
Yeah. He gives his
But
age.
with the age they give
does,
in the show has to be wrong. When Picard's like, how old are you? 23, 24? He's like, there's no way he's that old.
No, he's supposed to be 22.
That doesn't work with
that
it can't be 150 years after Archer's first mission in 2151. Because that would make the season finale would have to be in April of 2401. And so that would...
It is 2401.
But then... So that makes it only 22 years after Nemesis, because Nemesis is 79.
Yes, and that's when Jack
Okay,
Crusher
so then he's 21. Okay.
No.
But then there's got to be 9 months before, or however long she was pregnant.
That's what,
So.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting... Yeah.
We also see a wedding in Alaska, so that sure as hell wasn't in winter. That's got to be like at some point like after April, the beginning of Nemesis. So I don't think there's any way he's born in 99. I'm sorry, in 79. I don't think there's any way he's born in 79.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Yeah, because he does say he's like 23 or 24, but yeah. And
no way.
Memory Alpha says circa 2381 for his birth. So that would make him 20 in
Yeah. So and then in like that flashback where he's in the bar listening to Picard talk to all those young officers, he's only like 15 in that when he sneaks into the bar. But he probably had a fake ID.
Well, we don't know what the drinking age is in the 25th century.
You'd think by the future we would just make it 25 because it's like you have to be at least old enough that your brain is matured and not.
Well, no, because those cadets aren't 25.
I know. But you would just think like in the future that'd be like a concern we would address, but.
No, in the future it functions like Europe, where there's not a drinking age because nobody makes a thing of it.
And we do see Jake Sisko.
At least that's what I think. Anyway,
drinking before he's 21, so we know like the Bajoran system, the drinking age is
Yeah, but Benjamin's pretty strict about how much he can have.
Yeah, maybe.
Mm-hmm. And maybe it's just, cheap Chateau Picard. So.
I hope Jake had access. I hope Quark stocks his bar with better stuff than that.
And we also have to take into account that we see him in a pub that is obviously serving regular food too. So it's not just a bar. We're not talking about.
Yeah, that's true. There are
Could have been
plenty
an
of
Applebee's.
Restaurants that serve out. Yeah, they allow children in Applebee's, for instance. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know it was supposed to be 10 forward, but I'm Guinan. You know what? You know what this right here is? An episode of Strange New Worlds. That's what this is.
The fact that we're now debating the last season of Picard instead of talking about this week's episode of Strange New Worlds. Yes.
So let's get back to that. We go to Rigel 7, and apparently after Giorgio imagined drawing a delta in the sand on the episode in the Vulcan Hello, that became standard operating procedure for if somebody gets lost.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the idea. So what do we think about this connecting with the Rigel 7 story? Okay.
I think Rigel 7 looked cooler in the cage.
Agreed.
I won't dispute that at all.
I wish they just created that matte painting, like that image, and just to change it up, be like, oh, we'll put snow on it for winter. And then imagine if they had, and I almost wonder if this is like an idea earlier in the story, but what if they had flashbacks to the original mission, and then you would have like a really cool visual distinction, like, oh, that last mission 5 years ago happened in the summer, this mission is in the winter, so the audience will instantly know if it's the flashback or if it's, the current events, and you would be able to show what happened
like that.
With Pike and Zach and all, show like Spock being injured and everything. Like all the things they talk about in the cage, you would actually be able to show here. And have like a Kalar warrior with messed up teeth who like growls and has like a big Russian hat thing.
They could have done like they did with the episode of Discovery, where they did the previously on and they morphed it in.
We did the
which
previously
was
on
so
Star Trek
cool.
thing. Yes.
Oh, it was so cool.
I loved that so much.
When I saw that the first time, I jumped out of my chair. I was like, "Oh my god, look at this!"
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. But yeah, they could have done flashback with the current actors and all of that.
And I would have gone a step further, and I would have given them kind of like that wraparound away mission jacket that they're wearing in the cage, because that'd be easy to recreate. Like that's a pretty cheap piece of costuming to make, and just have them wear those in the flashback. And although I do love that Yeoman Zach had a red shirt. He has a red shirt who got left behind and decided to make himself king.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Something that didn't occur to me until I went through the TrekCore article. Why is he still wearing that 6 years later?
I brought that up on our show. Like, has he not had a shower in all this time?
Like,
did he maybe put it on just because like to wear it for when Pike shows up?
Oh, I like that better. He had it scrolled away, and then Pike shows up, and he starts.
It's part of like
okay.
his like royal.
We'll say that.
Like, I assume he doesn't like wear the crown, when he's just like having breakfast in the morning. Like, this is when he dresses up for the throne room. Maybe
he had it duplicated. Find me some red cloth.
What I also thought was weird is that they adopt the Delta as his logo. And so they start branding everything they have with the Starfleet Delta, but they put the command insignia on it instead of the engineering cog that he has on his, so...
Well, no, it's because they took it from the symbol on his crate.
Oh, okay.
Because it also has the circle. It was the full Starfleet symbol, the Starfleet command symbol, rather than the Delta from his uniform.
Okay, that would make sense then. the magic box that all the advanced weapons come out of.
Right.
Yeah. Right. One of the people that died that they show in the list when they're talking about it is C. Plummer, which I think was supposed to be a nod to Christopher Plummer.
Oh,
which is
nice.
Yeah. How do we feel about high-pitched noises? This
Not a
seemed
big
to
fan.
bother a lot of people.
I was actually watching it with a friend who was watching it with earbuds, and he was like, "Oh, sorry, I gotta pause. Like my ears are killing me right now." It didn't bother me, but yeah, several people had a hard time with that.
Yeah, didn't bother me either, but I could definitely see if you were wearing headphones, it would be awful. And if you already have tinnitus or are especially susceptible to these sort of things, it could be.
I think that's why it didn't bother me, because I always hear ringing in my ears all the time. So maybe I didn't even realize it was. I didn't even know it was in the episode. I just always hear shit like that.
I have to ask when my father watches it if he hears it, because he has tinnitus. It didn't bother me either, but I do get it. Yeah. So we get introduced to this idea of the memory loss, and there's this mineral that protects you from the memory loss. I have issues with it being a helmet, but apparently the radiation doesn't come up through the rest of your body, but that's fine.
Yes.
Not the first time Trek has done memory loss.
No.
Not going to be the last, I'm sure. But not the worst. Thad, you had some... Thad, you said you... That Enterprise episode. It wasn't just
Extinction?
memory loss. They were they were morphing into the other
Oh,
people.
yeah.
So I'm like one of the 2 people on the planet that actually doesn't hate that episode.
You know, it's been so long since I've seen it. It was the only one that I could think of that I didn't immediately go, oh,
I
that's
don't
good.
think I hate it either. I think people they just think it's cringy when the actors start behaving so oddly, and
Maybe
I think some
that's
people
it.
they're just highly allergic to anything that's awkward or cringe-inducing. They just can't handle it, and which is fair if that's how you feel about it. But.
It's not as good as Conundrum. I will say that.
True.
Yeah, I like Conundrum.
Yeah.
Or Thine Own Self.
Yes, that's top of the list.
It's not as racist as the Paradise Syndrome.
No.
Yeah, there's
No.
certainly an argument to be made that the Paradise Syndrome does not hold up, but I kind of have I have a soft spot for it, for just how hard William Shatner threw himself into I'm gonna be this man who thinks he's an Indian. Just I don't know, just the absurdity of it.
I don't think the Paradise Syndrome is as bad as, say, Code of Honor.
Oh no,
Because
no.
while it definitely stereotypes Native Americans, it does not portray them as savage or dumb, etc., etc.
It's Dances with Wolves.
It was basically
In
Kirk
space.
being man, life here seems so peaceful and idyllic. These people are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there is a frustration I think audiences can get in these memory erasing type episodes, which genre fiction has done a ton of. Everyone outside of Star Trek has done this too. There's a Buffy episode where they all forget who they are and how they relate to each other, stuff like that. It's a pretty common occurrence, and I think the audience is tempted to feel frustration because they're going to be oh, everything's obvious to me. All you people, you should know this, and you're just being dumb right now, and I know what you're supposed to be doing, and you can't figure it out. And so there's always a risk of that.
That's true. I hadn't thought of it that way. But...
I think Star Trek has done it really well, because Conundrum is actually one of my favorite TNG episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun one. No, you get the good Riker and Rose stuff in there. Mm-hmm. They forget that they hate each other and end up hooking up. I don't know. I just think if that happened in real life. These two people don't like each other, and you take their memories away, and then all of a sudden they're oh, hey, you're pretty cute.
They learn about the memory loss as they are losing their memory, and of course they find out from Zach, because he says it changes you. And then there's that wonderful moment where they put them all out in the cage in the snow, and they somehow survive that, even though
they should have
don't
died.
have anything. Yeah. And then La'an, tries to kill Pike because that's her character, trying to kill people. And then we go up to the Enterprise, and Uhura is the first to lose her memory, and I think that's kind of interesting.
Well, it won't be the last time she loses her memory either.
Unfortunately, no. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah. I wonder if that is supposed to be a tiny reference to that.
Maybe.
I actually read on the internet that these writers don't know Legacy Star Trek, so I doubt that that's the case.
Oh.
Was that the same article that said Kurtzman got fired for the 15th time?
I believe it was, yeah.
Yeah, Kurtzman, Alex Kurtzman and Kathleen Kennedy get fired every week.
I did see a Kathleen Kennedy is fired headline, just this weekend. Just like,
yeah, no, that's why I was referencing, because I actually tweeted out a joke about that, saying that Kathleen Kennedy has been fired at least as
maybe
many
that's
times
why I
as
saw
Kurtzman.
it then.
It was freaking Yahoo Business or somebody who should definitely know better.
That's the one I saw. Is Yahoo?
A clickbait headline. It was Kathleen Kennedy fired, and then the text of it was, "Will Kathleen Kennedy be fired?"
Freaking clickbait.
Yep.
Right. So they think it's foodborne. I love that moment where they're like, "What'd you have for breakfast?"
It wasn't the oatmeal.
Chapel explains it. She explains it as saying she would be able to do simple medical procedures, but she wouldn't be able to do major surgery, and she wouldn't know who she is. And then later, I think it's nice because we see her wandering around when Ortegas is trying to get back to
That was
home.
eerie, yeah. This episode was directed by, I believe it's Eduardo Sanchez, who was one of the co-directors of the Blair Witch Project.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. That explains a bit. That explains the
Why that felt so scary, yeah.
The Uhura vision, where they're standing over her. Yeah,
he's like a TV director now.
Cool. I did like that we had the computer guiding her to her quarters, because that was something that we saw on Next Gen twice, and then they never picked it up again. It's a very logical thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things I said in my show is Alex Kapp did a really great job as the computer voice in this episode. When they were writing conversations of her and Ortegas basically have to carry a scene together, and they would do that sometimes in Berman era Trek, I think, because they knew they could rely on Majel to play the computer in that Majel way. Yeah. But sometimes there would be jokes and stuff, characters getting arguments with the computer and stuff like that. So I think Alex Kapp is.
Alex Kapp does a good job of sounding a lot like
Yes, I think she's the closest we're going to get anytime soon. I know Rod says that his mom phonetically recorded every sound, but they've never done anything with that.
Not every sound. That's the problem.
75% of it.
Most of the sounds.
Yeah, just especially in this day and age where we're trying to give all the jobs to AI anyways. I'm instead of trying to make that work, let's just pay an actor to do some talented work that they put their heart and soul into. Let's have Alex Kapp be the computer voice going forward, if anyone asks me.
Yeah,
she does a great job.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, you know what? In fact, one of the arguments that somebody has with the computer on Next Gen is Majel Barrett as Luxwana.
Yes.
There's a back and forth, which is beautiful.
That always makes me think of a meme that goes around every once in a while. You're nodding your head. You know the one I'm talking about. It's Riker and Troy, and Troy tells Riker that he needs to replicate a condom, and he says, "Oh, I hate doing that." Oh, it's not the one you're thinking of.
No, that's not.
That was the one I was thinking of.
And honestly, the best line in the meme is Troy responds with, "Little Will doesn't beam down without an encounter suit," which is hilarious.
But the reason for his objection,
But Riker says, "No, it's not that. It's just that the replicator sounds like your mom." What's the meme you were thinking of?
I think it's just one where it's Troy and Picard talking, and he says something like, "I don't understand why the computer sounds like your mother." It's very tame compared to that. It's very just observational as opposed to actually, funny. But that's a good one. I've never
Little
seen
Will
that.
doesn't beam down without an encounter suit.
See, sex positive, safe sex, 24th century, all good. Thad, earlier you said you had some things to say about the memory, the way they did the memory loss thing.
I just don't know that it's scientific. Based on what we know of memory loss, I mean, admittedly, we don't know how this particular radiation-induced memory loss that only attacks your body through the head works.
It's Star Trek science, though.
The top of your head.
Star Trek science will always conform to what will move the story along, what the script needs it to do. So,
but in real life instances of memory loss, what happens is that people have no memories of what they have done in the past or who they are, but they still have all the same knowledge that they already had. Like, they still know how to do things. They can still read. They can still write. They can still do all the things they would normally do. And in a lot of ways, we get this in this episode because Ortegas can fly the ship. But they should also be able to read.
No, you know what? I just thought of the fix for that.
Mm-hmm.
People will remember their first language, but they do not necessarily remember languages they learned after.
Okay.
So if Spock is looking at the pad and the pad is in Federation Standard,
right? Okay.
And his first language is Vulcan, then
I mean, is that actually how that works, though?
I don't know. I'm working from. I know of a few people who, when they had strokes, lost English. Particularly, like I'm just.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I know of many people. Particularly, I'm thinking of my grandmother. After she had a stroke, she lost all of her English. She only remembered Italian, and so that just popped in my head as you were saying that. I don't know if, beyond my personal anecdote, if that actually means anything.
I came up with a fix for that also that I think actually is kind of intended in the episode based on some explanations we get from Ortegas near the end of the episode. But
okay.
I'm going to tell your audience that they have to go listen to Text Trek to hear it, though. Sorry.
Hey, that's fine. All right. Okay, which brings me to one of the problems I have with the Rigel thing. Mm-hmm. They said this thing hit a number of generations ago. It's
like 1,000 years ago.
That had
wiped out half the planet, probably.
So,
it was thousands of years ago, I think, actually.
Plural.
Okay. Well, if it's more than one generation, how do babies learn how to do anything?
Yep. Good question.
How do if you're a parent and you wake up, like how do you know if like the kids are yours or not? Like
obviously they don't remember they're being separated into castes and used for their working ability because they're not coming together to push back against it. So
I'm wondering if maybe they don't spend their whole lives doing insert thing in the field.
Like maybe you're allowed to go to school and in the palace, and then after you're working age, they kick you out to the field and you start forgetting every day. But you still know how to read everything you learned.
Or maybe they only spend a few years at a time in the field. It's just they have no idea.
I think these are interesting things to explore, and that's why one of the conclusions I came to is I think it might have benefited if they split this episode into two, and they did one episode that was, let's go back to Rigel 7, and we find Pike's old yeoman who he thought had died, but turns out, no, he'd just been living on this planet all along and had taken over, made himself king. Mm-hmm. Do that as a story, and then do a separate story where it's we go to this planet where there's this class distinction where you have the owners and the workers, and the owners weaponize this memory loss radiation to deny these people any right to an identity and keep them from being able to rebel against them. And you could have explored a lot of that concept in a lot more detail and I think more interesting ways if you had a whole episode dedicated to it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Both of those a little more TOS on their own as well.
Yeah, I kind of want an enemy within this episode and split it in two.
Yeah. Nice.
Nice.
And so, you know, we've talked very little about the actual action in the episode. You know, they send them out to the field or whatever. Pike recognizes that he doesn't have calloused hands, save for the fact that he apparently runs a ranch in his spare time, but that's fine.
He ain't been home in a while.
That's fine. That's okay. And then we have the encounter with Zach at the end, and he figures out what's going on. They're able to do that. They have to do it because La'an is injured, and because she does that because she learned that she learned to be the security officer at some point, and so continues to be. And then we get the back and forth with Zach of how he felt that he was left behind, and Pike's is, you know, I didn't know. I don't feel like that got really... I mean, it got resolved in that Batel is taking him to, I don't know, some penal colony somewhere in New Zealand or something. But
he's going to go crush rocks in New Zealand like Tom Paris was doing. Is that where Bashir's dad was, too?
Probably.
But I don't feel like that got really well resolved. We spent so much time on the other stuff that this piece that was supposed to be the center of the story, or that you feel like would be the center of the story, is not. Which maybe goes to what you were saying, Stephen, about it being better as two
and then
different
they could have done like the
stories.
Rigel 7 flashbacks, and you know they would have had time for all kinds of stuff. A boss fight with a Kalar warrior with messed up teeth, which I think it seems like the most obvious thing to do with this episode, and they didn't do it. But it's like the one thing we knew about Rigel 7.
I love it.
It's true.
Love it. So I don't know, I guess I'm feeling very negative, and I don't mean to do that, but because I didn't hate it.
What? Yeah. Why do you hate
means.
Star Trek, Chrissy?
I don't know.
But-
you know.
The beautiful thing about Strange New Worlds, or at least in my opinion, is that because of its episodic nature, if there is an episode that you don't like maybe this one, you don't have to deal with like the baggage of it. You know, the next episode is going to be something completely, totally different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's the threads of continuity, you know, the relationship with Batel, but you can just file that away and be aware that that's what happens, and yeah. Do you guys think that this was supposed to prompt people thinking about the philosophy of whether it's better to remember or to forget?
I think a little, yeah. Because
maybe we're getting into the
La'an
yeah.
and Mbenga have that conversation.
And then there's the what's his name, Luke.
Yeah.
Luke.
Yeah, they give Luke an arc. He has changed by the end of the episode, and you know he admits he was wrong to try to deny himself all these memories. And I think if they had an episode where they could spend more time on the memory loss stuff, you could explore a lot of cool things about, well, how much of myself is my experience? How much of myself is my nature? I'm going to spare this guy's life, but is it because I remember learning killing is wrong? Or is it because just by nature I choose to show compassion because that's who I am internally? There's a lot of neat stuff that could have been explored with that, but they kind of just have to, I don't know, just kind of show a little bit of the outskirts of that without delving all the way into it.
Yeah. I did note that this was more memorably done, and I think better done, if that's the message they want in Final Frontier. To, you know, invoke that.
I need my pain,
My
yeah,
pain.
totally.
That
Yeah.
particular movie, yeah.
Which that is a cool thing in that movie. Like even as a kid, I always thought that's like I thought it was like kind of cool. Like Kirk's like a choice to, you know, keep all of his tragic memories and learn from them.
But yeah, and then things are wrapped up, and Pike's wants to get back together with Batel, or you know, they seem to work that out, and I really don't feel like the character of Pike needed this experience to know that loss has to be part of life, but sure.
Yeah, probably not.
Because I think he's learned that 3 or 4 times now, just in the time that we've seen him.
I mean, he's already accepted that he only has, I guess, 7 or 8 years of what he considers life left. I know he lives past that,
Yeah.
but he's basically viewing that as the end of his life.
Well, he doesn't know, beyond
He actually has a really
he
cool
doesn't know
ending.
he's going to end up in the
Yeah,
menagerie.
he's going to get to live with Vina and live out any fantasy he's ever had. Basically live in like a version of heaven where just like whatever you want will be yours.
Yeah, but he doesn't actually know that will happen, so that's a good, fair point.
Yeah. And I know there's that whole thing about whether it's ableist with he's saying that his life is over, and I always just read that as life as I know
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm putting words in his mouth.
I
but
can understand why it would bother people, but it
absolutely
maybe be a little bit more
absolutely.
thoughtful of how to word that in the future. But yeah, it makes sense for the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's ableist for us to say that someone's life is over. It's ableist for him to say, if it happened to Spock, for him to say Spock's life is over. It is not ableist for a character to describe it as their own life being over, because that's their own personal experience, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that's part of working through it and all that. What have I missed talking about? What have I missed bringing up?
I guess the Ortegas, the whole like the self-motivating.
Oh my God,
Like
yeah.
I am Erica Ortegas and I fly the
How did I
ship.
forget that?
Yeah.
I did the beginning where she was all excited about going on the away mission and then didn't get to be part of it, and she was.
I liked that,
I
yeah.
was kind of hoping to see her in the hat later, like just randomly, because she really liked that hat.
I do like how she puts the hat back on to walk down the hall.
Yeah, it's part of the
The
outfit.
hat is supreme.
Yeah. But yeah, that where she's kind of pumping herself up and getting away from the fear and the understanding that she has to be the one to fix the situation. Because apparently the Beta and Gamma and Delta shift pilots, or however many shifts they have, are not capable of doing that because they aren't in the credits.
Well, they made a big deal about they need
But,
they need her on the ship, but then as soon as
Yeah.
Uhura starts having some weird symptoms, number one immediately says, "Ortegas, leave your station and take this woman down to sickbay." It's like,
Yeah, that is interesting.
but I mean, she was then like, "Oh well, I can pilot the Enterprise." But it's like, okay, if you could do it, number one, then why did y'all deny Ortegas from going on the landing party?
Right.
Yeah. Like you say, it's the make it work, But I hope this was not the Ortega centric episode.
Me too.
I
same.
feel like it probably is, but
It probably
I hope it
is,
wasn't.
but I do hope we get more.
Melissa Navia promised us a big Ortega's episode, and then I at least one of the showrunners has brought it up multiple times. They were talking about it last year because she was the only part of the main cast, if I recall correctly, who didn't get to do a log entry in all of season 1, and it kind of stood out as kind of an odd omission. So,
Well, she does do a log entry
yeah,
this
she
time.
she bookends the episode.
Which is nice. Yeah. It does not give the opportunity to where we would get a captain's log to actually tell everybody what happened with the planet and the yeoman and everything, but that's okay.
I do love that Zach is saved eventually. Like Pike doesn't
Yes.
leave people behind. He did get them. It
Yes.
took 5 years, but he got around to it. And Anson's really good in that scene when he kind of like, whenever he's showing vulnerability, when he kind of he goes from being like this like big, strong, badass dude who's kind of scary, kicking the shit out of Zach, and then he goes from that to he kind of has a breakdown himself. It's like, oh my God, I feel so terrible. Like I mourned you, Zach. I never meant for any of this to happen. I'm so sorry you had to go through this, but I'm gonna bring you home now.
Yeah.
Like Anson's really good at that. At playing both sides of this dude.
Yeah. He was good with that in Hell on Wheels, too. particularly the first couple seasons where you're getting like his backstory and stuff. It's just, it's really good. Yeah. I thought it was interesting, the idea that, because he turns it around, doesn't say that it changes you, it shows you who you are being on that planet. And that brought to mind something my mother always says, which is, adversity doesn't change people, it shows who they actually are. Which I have found in many, but not all cases to be true. But it's an interesting idea that it's going to bring out the inherent nature, as you were saying earlier about, am I going to not kill this person because I've been taught not to kill, or am I not going to kill this person because it's it's morally inappropriate. Just something to ponder on, I guess.
Well, again, I think it's more stuff that I would have loved to have seen explored in more detail and perhaps more nuance if it had the the runtime to do so.
Yeah.
I don't know which idea came first. Were they like, let's do the Rigel 7 idea, or if it was like, let's do like this the sci-fi kind of, you lose your memory type idea?
That's a good question. I wonder.
Maybe Davy Perez had one idea and Kirsten Beyer had the other idea, and they're like, well, we can only do 10 episodes. Which two are we going to Tuvix?
The origins of Billy Joel's Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. 2 songs that weren't quite finished.
Yeah, just
what do I do?
Slam them together.
Yeah.
It worked. It probably worked a little better for Billy Joel.
It did. That was fantastic.
But again, none of us hate this episode. And none of us...
No, I don't hate this episode. I enjoyed this episode. I like that I got to tell the author of it that this weekend. I told her it felt a lot like a TOS episode, and she said yes. That was my whole plan. So
yeah, I saw my friend Larry Nemechek call this the perhaps the most I don't know if I agree with him, but from his perspective, he called this perhaps the most TOS-y episode of Strange New Worlds thus far.
Okay.
I could see where he would say that.
Part of it was he said that some of the sets looked a little cheap and bare, which my co-host Dave pointed out on Text Trek. We do kind of feel like there's only 10 people living on Rigel 7. It kind of would have been nice if they would have had, I don't know, like a wide shot of like the castle courtyard with 20 or 30 extras running around in the background. Maybe like with COVID, they weren't allowed to have like many people on the set in early 2022 when they would have been shooting this.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, you do get that impression.
Yeah, if you watch
but that is very
last week's episode, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow, there's like so many people walking around in Toronto like out of focus in the background, which was probably, they probably had people with COVID masks on and were trying to hide them.
Yeah, because if you look at the production shots from that episode, yes, there are people in the background with masks.
Which also, like, I do not think they would have shot that episode outdoors in Toronto in March unless they were like, oh, we need to do the Anson Mount Light episodes now at the front of the season so that he can go hang out with his wife and kid.
Yeah.
Because normally you would wait till spring to shoot that.
At least. But I do appreciate that they made that kind of effort for him. That's...
Yeah, no, that's cool. Like they didn't give that to Alexander Sadig when Nana Visitors gave birth to his kid Django. They're like, no, we need you on the set in the morning on location because we're making the greatest DS9 episode that everyone loves. Let he who is without sin.
They barely gave Nana Visitor that amount of time.
Right. But also in the 90s, paternity leave was definitely not.
I mean,
much
it's not
of
a thing
yet.
now for most people in the United
Right.
States.
Unfortunately, not in the U.S. Yeah.
No, but this was in Canada.
Oh, so do they have to follow Canadian labor laws? I guess they.
I would think they would have to. Yeah.
I've never thought of that, but. Huh. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us for the discussion today. As you just mentioned, people can listen to you talk about this and other episodes on Text Trek. where can people find you online? And is there anything else you want people to go looking for?
Sure. Well, you can follow me on Twitter at TXTrek, and I'm also, I guess, on Blue Sky and Mastodon, and now I think Instagram and somewhere it's always like at
Threads.
TXTrek. I'm trying to get off Twitter. I know I need to go somewhere else, find a new home. I haven't started posting on these other platforms very much, but I aim to in the near future. I'm such a terrible person. I bitched and moaned about not having an invite to Blue Sky. I was like, please, someone send me one. And then someone pretty quickly got me an invite. I went and made an account. I haven't even put my profile picture on there. I haven't done anything there. So I just wasted that invite code. But yeah, I'm trying to get on the other platforms, but it's at TXTrek, and you can also visit tex-trek.com to find the podcast. We have a weekly live show that's live on YouTube every Friday night at 7 p.m. Central, and that's available to listen to Monday morning wherever you get your podcast. We also do some other streams on YouTube, so I would encourage people to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have a Thursday night stream now that my friend Rachel and some other friends are doing fun roundtable discussions the day that new episodes come out. And then on Fridays, I have the deep dive discussion with my co-host, Dave. And we also just did a really fun interview with DS9 showrunner Ira Stephen Bear that people can, you can watch that on YouTube or listen to it wherever you get your podcast. And Chrissy, I did ask him the question you wanted me to ask about his beard care routine. But yeah, we get into
Oh, jeez.
we get into some Star Trek questions. We also talk about the WGA strike with him. He's been active on the picket lines, so we talk about that. We talk about his love of the Alamo. Anyone who's watched DS9's got to be like, the Alamo comes up a lot in this show. So I ask him about that, and I ask him about some non-Star Trek stuff. We talk about I ask him for some movie recommendations and some music recommendations and a lot of fun stuff. I encourage people to check that out.
He had James Darren invent a song about the Alamo for DS9.
I didn't realize
I didn't know that was. I know that sound clip where he's
it.
Yeah. How about a little something to put you in a Texas state of mind? Because I want to. Next time I re-edit my intro thing, I'm going to use
from
that.
I don't know if he wrote the entire song or just the first couple lines that he sings in the episode, but it's from Bada Bing Bada Bang.
Yeah. It's when the.
He starts singing the song "Standing Around at the Alamo, History Abounds" of that famous fort. That is not a real song.
I never knew that. Wow.
I
should have asked him about that. Yeah, that's too bad. But
no.
If you watch on YouTube, you can also see Nog the cat, his cat sitting by his side.
Oh yes, I did know he had a cat named Nog, which is adorable.
That's awesome. I will pass on to Jay about the beard care thing because he was the one that suggested that. He thought that was funny.
We got it on record, so.
Awesome. All right, well, yeah, everybody go listen to that.
Beard care is important.
Yes, for you too. That is very important.
2 out of 3 people on this podcast would definitely agree with that.
And so would all of Teller
and
Prime.
I agree with it. Yeah. As a person who lives with a person with a beard, yes, also very important. Thad, where can people find you when you're not? Thad, where can people find you when you're not? Wait, what? Thad, where can people find you when you're not doing something that I'm forgetting?
Well, when I'm not forgetting what I'm doing, you can, at the moment, find me on Twitter at Tyrannicus. That's Tyranicus. I am also on Blue Sky and Mastodon. I try to cross-post most, if not all, of my original tweets on, because obviously not retweets, etc. On Blue Sky and Mastodon. I'm Tyrannicus there too, with the various server names on the end. But if you search for Tyrannicus, you'll find me. And you can hear me on the podcast I do with my friend Carl called License to Spiel. That's license spelled with a C like the British do it. We started out as a James Bond podcast. We ran out of James Bond films. Then we started doing general spy films. We will have an episode up next week, most likely, about the latest Mission Impossible film that is coming out this week.
Very cool.
Oh, yeah. I forgot what I was going to do because
if you were doing that.
Chrissy, where can people find you when you're not piloting the ship?
Oh, yeah, I pilot the ship. I did an excellent job piloting this ship today. Right, yeah. In addition to here on Infinite Diversity, you can find me on History with the Zloggies here on the BQN, that twice-weekly short history podcast I do with my fellow historian partner, Jason. Hope everybody enjoyed last week's Return of the Living Dead episode. That one Tuesday, a little bit of historical account of fictional events there. We're going to be talking about Oppenheimer stuff in the next couple of weeks. A little Manhattan Project, a little bit of his life, that kind of stuff. Right ahead of the movie. I'm also happy to chat about our shows in the BQN Collective on Facebook. And yes, I'm still on Twitter too. It's been, reports of its death have been greatly exaggerated. I don't know how many times that's going to happen, but I'm still the goddess Livia there. I did set up a Threads, 5 million other people this weekend, because it was just coming off of my Instagram. So I'm there too, but I haven't really done much with it yet. I'm not on Blue Sky. I'm not on Mastodon. I guess I have to.
I am technically on Threads because I just, set it up to reserve my username, but exactly. I don't plan to actually use Threads anytime soon. I do not need yet another Twitter replacement when I'm already on 2 others.
Yeah, and see, I didn't have the other one, so maybe that's... But I don't know where these are going to end up. It's all just going to end up in Memory Alpha. Well, that's what we'll have. Anyway, yeah, so, right, I'm on Twitter at the Goddess Livia, where I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics.
Don't forget about all our other great shows on BQN. Here's Amy to tell you all about them.
What shows are on BQN, you ask? Well, here's a rundown of some podcasts you might be interested in. All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast covering all of Trek, hosted by Amy, Mark, Christos, and Kelvin. Bargain Bin Gamer, a YouTube show hosted by Davey, a self-proclaimed gamer who specializes in reviewing and showcasing affordable video games. If you're lost in the Delta Quadrant, check out The Captain's Couch, a Star Trek Voyager podcast hosted by Jeremiah sitting on Janeway's Ready Room couch. Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast showcasing films you probably missed but should definitely check out, hosted by Mark, Matt, and Laz. Beam Aboard the Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast covering all of TNG, hosted by Amy, Joe, Rhea, and Kevin. History with the Zloggies, a snippet of historical events from around the world, hosted by Chrissy and Jason. For the newest Trek coverage, check out Infinite Diversity, hosted by Chrissy and Thad. Test your Trek knowledge with Treksperts Quiz, a Star Trek quiz show hosted and written by Davey. Union Federation, covering all things Star Trek and the Orville, which we all know is really a Star Trek show, hosted by Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley. Spill the Tea with What's the Tea, Bev, a Trek current events and fan interview show hosted by Christos. And for our Patreon members, we have The Hive Mind, BQN's monthly roundtable discussion with hosts and listeners. It's Green, a cornucopia of topics hosted by Mark. And Amy's Math Moments, a quick look at math moments in Star Trek, hosted by Amy. We know you have a choice of podcasts to choose from, and we thank you for listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
And thank you so much for tuning into Infinite Diversity. Thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music and Mark White for the awesome show art. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast player, and don't forget to rate and review us there as well.
If you want to reach out, you can find the network on Twitter at BQN Podcasts, or our show specifically at IDIC Podcast. You can also talk about any and all of the BQN podcasts in our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. When you next hear from us, we'll be talking about the next episode of Strange New Worlds, Charades, or maybe we'll be acting it out, and it'll be a very bad transition to podcast medium, so find out next week. Until then, peace and long life.
Oh, that's
nice.
Beautiful. That is beautiful.